Om. 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 Dear Swami, we are so grateful to be able to meet here together in your presence today. While we are here together studying your word in your Bhagavata Vahini, we ask that you open our ears and hearts to whatever it is you want us to learn. Please speak through each one of us and help us progress in our spiritual journey. Jai Sai Ram. Sai Ram, everyone. We would like to start the session with meditation. So I would request everyone to mute your cell phones. And let's be respectful, speak from the heart, listen with humility. Just at our center, we do have our service going on. Is it complete? Okay. So we can start our discussion, and but before then, we will have a little meditation session. So with that, we'll start this.
I'm Abigail Spanberger, candidate for governor, and I sponsored this ad.
Trump's budget bill is raising costs, and Winsome Earl Sears says,
The bill, as you know now, does so many great things.
you pay more, so billionaires pay less. Sears, so far right, she's wrong for Virginia.
If you have any type of eyebrow, this is an essential. I almost gave up actually trying to find a product that would
You're going to be guided into composing a certain inquiry, a question. And as you ask the question, there will be a noticeable shift. The perspective of what you are will flip from the separate self to the actual non-dual meaning of I. But don't expect any explosion or some burst of emotion. Instead, focus on the subtlety of the direct seeing. This is a subtle step back from the false identity to the true one. From the illusory person to the undeniable awareness. This is the question. Compose it in your mind without saying it out loud. And where I say Nabil or any other name, insert your own name. This is an important touch to the question. Nabil, who are you? Nabil, what are you? Say it in your mind with your own name. Who are you? What are you? Notice that as soon as the question is asked, a subtle shift takes place. When the question is taking shape, you may seem to be the one thinking it, the one asking the question. But as the question ends, in the silence that follows, you clearly are the one who perceived the question, simply aware of the thought arising and passing. The use of your name is causing a glitch in the matrix here. It's exposing a flaw in the idea of self as the thinker, as the doer. Let's consider this slowly. In the moment you perceive this thought, you clearly are not the one thinking, but the one listening, the one being addressed by the thought, the one perceiving the thought. And in this simple act of perception, all the ideas and concepts of you collapse, and your true role is revealed. Hannah, who are you? Henriette, what are you? Notice what you are in that gap in the thinking, in that silence. Jay, who are you? Max, what are you? Ask this in your mind with your own name and see how your role shifts. You are not the one thinking. You are the sentience which is perceiving the thought. There is a power in your given name, because the mind has associated it with you for most of this life. Now, instead of having this name point to an imaginary character, we can use it, repurpose it to point out the truth. Liam, who are you? Elizabeth, what are you? When this thought is heard, it cannot convincingly portray you as the one saying it. You are the one being addressed. Sakina, who are you? Suzanne, what are you? As you take that half step back, detach from the belief in being the thinker, you're simply the one aware of the thought. You are the sentience, the awareness. From here, it is simple to see that whatever arises, it is not your doing. Whatever the causes of the perceptions, they are hidden away. The perceptions arise spontaneously, and you only know of them when they arise. But whatever you may perceive, you are not what you perceive. You are what makes perception possible. John, who are you? Neil, what are you? When the thought I arises, this is what it refers to. The one present and aware in that silence. I does not refer to a person, but to this awareness. I does not refer to an individual sentient entity, but to sentience itself. Which you already know to be the common factor in all lives. Max, who are you? Manos, what are you? Well, who's asking anyway? A sequence of sounds was received and interpreted as an instruction. A process took place in nature, and it is this process that is being perceived as a thought. Who could perceive this process as a thought other than nature itself? Who are you, Miria? What are you, Angeline? If you take yourself to be the one speaking, the one thinking, then your identity is tied to this process, to the transient and local and experiential. And then your name refers to this person. But if you know yourself as the one listening, the one aware, then you are nature itself. The reality in which all these processes take place. Because that reality is you who are aware. It is this awareness, and it is natural for these processes to be known most intimately as experience. The word I, your name, these are just pointers. What has been done here is that a question has been raised. An instruction has been added to this local process to find out what these arrows are pointing out. So, let the process ask, who are you? What are you? The process cannot answer the question. It can only ask it. But in the silence that ensues, be it a few seconds or a microsecond, you shine forth as the truth itself. You are this present awareness. Let there be a certainty, an absolute clarity of what you are. To know thyself is the beginning of wisdom.
Sairam. We can take a few seconds to come back and proceed further. Okay, Sairam. Just a little review from last session. We had our last one on via Zoom on Thursday. We did talk about two quotes from Swami. One was on bliss, and one was how can we reach Brahman. And both of them were Swami's quote from our thought for the day. That I post daily almost on our WhatsApp group. So we discussed about what is the external joy that we experience and why do we experience it. We talked about what bliss means and what it is. We talked about how true Ananda can only be experienced once we remove the impurities of the mind, and how permanent bliss is unchanged. We moved along. We talked about Swami's quote on how can we reach Brahman, and how spiritual goals cannot be fastened or hastened into. One has to follow the process and has to learn systematically, has to have the patience with selfless service and gratitude. Those are things that we have talked about. And of course, we ended with practice being practice what we learn is being the goal. So that is a short version of what we discussed. But if there is anything anyone would like to add, please feel free.
Sairam, we had discussed this last time, and we've been discussing this for so many past sessions in study circle. So the whole goal of our life is to remove that clutter, or as Umaji mentioned last time, that moss that covers that lake or that pond,
right?
So that we have a clear view, and still it is a reflection of that sun. We cannot see the sun, we can only see the reflection. But to see that reflection, we have to remove that moss that is covering.
Absolutely.
So all we have to do is, say, I'm reminded of my brother-in-law. He always carries a small piece of cloth.
Yeah.
And wherever he finds any dirt or anything, he will be cleaning. So we have to do that in our mind. We have to always have a piece of cloth, and that watches, observes any dirt that comes and settles, so that we wipe it. And the good thing about this, see, I was also in few retreats back, I had the opportunity to be in charge for the devotion hall at the retreat. So basically that job or that role is, you should clean that hall after the program is and make it fit for the next program. So there will be a broom, and that particular retreat was not raining. So, but a lot of wind, there is always a lot of wind. So we would clean, sweep that this one, and then there'll be a wind that will blow. So always we have to have a broom and the thing in our hand to sweep that place again and again. So our job is one thing, but the difference there is we can, in our mind, we can keep doing our work as well as watch the clutter that comes there. And when we are focused on our work, that clutter doesn't come. That is one advantage we have. I think when we are completely focused on something, that negative thought doesn't come. Only when we have something idle, when we do not have that focus on something, we have that external things that come and settle, which are body, mind centric. So we should be able to identify that and then remove it.
Yeah.
So I just
very nice. Thank you, Sairam. Okay, so today I thought we will, I know we had talked about this in the past, but I thought we should talk about consciousness, and conscience. So, because this is so important to understand, and Of course, we are using English terms, and I understand that there is a difference there. But Swami always makes it easy for us to understand what he is talking about. So I will read the quote and then we can continue with the discussion. It is not easy, and this is what Swami is saying. So it is not easy to understand this quality of Chaitanya, consciousness. When you want to understand the nature of consciousness, you have to understand one part of it, namely conscience. Conscience is a witness. It is also known as awareness. A witness requires a basis for its functioning. That basis is that of which you are conscious in the waking state. There are these three levels of understanding: being conscious of the objective world, the conscience, and the consciousness. The first state is related to the senses. Conscience is related to the mind. Consciousness is related to the Atma, the spirit. These three divisions have been made for the purpose of understanding and grappling with the concerns of daily life. This process may be illustrated by an example. For instance, a conference of doctors is held in a hall. There can be different specialists present in the hall, but all are described as doctors. Each one may have specialized in one part of the body: the heart, the ear, the brain, or the other limb. The body is one, but for the purpose of specialization, it is divided into many parts. Likewise, all are embodiments of the Atma, but for the purpose of earning a living, one may be a laborer or an official or a trader or a farmer. These differences are based on the occupations pursued by different persons. They are based on the occupations and have no permanent significance. Similarly, although the Atma is one and the same in everybody, distinctions are made among different persons on the basis of their physical and other characteristics and their relationships. One's interest in these distinctions is based on one's attachment. For instance, if there is an accident to an airplane, one's interest in the fate of individual passengers is increased if one's kith and kin were traveling by that plane. Otherwise, one is interested in the accident only out of curiosity. In the same manner, as long as the Atma is not considered as your own, your interest in the Atma is concerned with mere information. Once you know that the Atma is the self that is present in everyone, the process of transformation takes place. The real is only one. But as long as the mind and body remain, it is difficult to experience this oneness. In spite, however, of the difficulty, everyone must strive to discover his true self. Okay, Sairam, this is what Swami is saying, and this is a quote. I think he has very I think it's a very simple way of putting things for our understanding. But what is the difference between being conscious, the conscience, and consciousness? Why are these distinctions useful for us to understand? Yeah, please.
Sairam, before we go into the questions, can you go back? I was just intrigued by that last page. Except I think here. Let's say the accident. Okay,
Yeah.
that example really is something I have not thought of like that. So I just thought I will read it one more time, or maybe you can read.
Go ahead.
For instance, if there is an accident to an aeroplane, one's interest in the fate of individual passengers is increased if one's kith and kin were traveling by that plane. Otherwise, one is interested in the accident only out of curiosity. In the same manner, as long as the Atma is not considered as your own, your interest in the Atma is concerned with mere information. Once you know that the Atma is the self that is present in everyone, the process of transformation takes place. So from that, what I understand is Atma. So it's not, I think what Swami means here is not just the first is, we are not, I'm just trying to understand where we are in, I'm just saying myself, where I am, am I really feeling or realizing that I am the Atma. And that Atma is present in everybody. If we have reached that stage, then I will be fully interested in knowing about that Atma, just like a person's kith and kin were traveling in that plane. So how strongly we feel that is what I thought that was
Very,
very profound.
yeah,
and,
I know.
I had not.
I agree with you. I totally agree. And I think that is where, we don't take as much interest.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to.
Yeah.
Since we were talking about it, why are we not
Yeah.
taking that step? Why are we still caught in this Maya? Why are we still attracted to what we see outside and then get deluded by that and not focusing enough on trying to know our true self?
Yeah.
But I think that explains it very, very well. That's
Very
what I mean.
easily also.
But as long as the mind and body remain, it is difficult to experience this oneness. This is a repetition of what Venkatji pointed out the other week. And Swami's quote also, we need this mind is which can be used for the betterment, or this can be the biggest hurdle in realization, like the Vikshepa
Right.
we talked.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone else have anything to add? Please go ahead.
I just want to point out the Atma is the self in the previous page. That just note that it is a capital S. So that is what we have to always remember. Most of the time, we are that sentence. I'm thinking only about
The
small-
reflection.
small self. So
Yeah.
that is where we have to really focus it on.
So we all probably saw one picture where Krishna and Arjuna in the battlefield and the white horse is pulling, right? So all these senses we talk about, it's actually a symbolic representation. Most of the cases, our scriptures, our pictures are symbolic representation. So when we think of that way, our senses are the same thing which helps us. Because Krishna, if you take the roles of Arjuna is your inner conscience somewhere inside, and Krishna is there to guide you like your mind and senses. So that picture depicts that it is the same senses, but how you steer them is important to win the war.
Right.
That's where he gives the guidance to win the war. How to win this physical world or attractions, distractions, with the same senses that you can reach the inner self and realize that then you won the war of Bharata, which is what it means. That's what I would like to say.
Yep, Saira. Okay, so I wanted to go back to the basics of this, and then of course we all understand what Swami is saying. But what is the difference between being conscious, the conscience, and the consciousness? And why are these important? Is it important to understand them if we want to grow spiritually? I mean,
I'll go first. Saira.
yeah.
I'll try. Okay, let's start with.
Now it should be. Yeah,
All right. Can you hear me?
I can because it's finished.
Okay. Let's start with consciousness. Let's start from the top. So far with all our discussions over the weeks and months, I think we understand what is consciousness, that capital I, the awareness, the witness, the sakshi, Brahman.
Brahman.
So many names are there, right? And so that is consciousness. That is the one, real one, the capital S. There is no second for that. So that is one. And that is the one Swami says, we are all God. I know it, you don't know it. That is the consciousness, we are all one at that level. And then the conscious, okay? Conscious is that awareness that we have. I am conscious of sitting here. You are all here. You are all aware of this hall, kind of, that is the basic things. We are aware of the world, aware of ourselves, the situations, the feeling. That is the conscious. And then the conscience, what is it? That is a little bit confusing because in Vedanta, there is no such, they don't give a lot of importance to the conscience part. Yeah. But yeah, Swami explains it
As
that,
witness.
yes,
Yeah.
the conscience need a conscious person.
Correct.
If a conscious person is there, then only he will access the conscience, right? So the background for that is the conscious. The conscious and the conscience, they all borrow their awareness from the consciousness from the top. Right?
I would add to it.
Yeah.
He has explained it exactly the Vedantic terminology. I'll go over the terminology.
Right.
Conscious is awake state only.
Yeah, that is interesting. I found.
Yeah. So conscious is
being
awake.
conscious,
Awake. When we are awake, we are conscious. We are conscious of the things around. When we are sleeping, we are not. Very simple. Second is Sakshi. Conscious is Sakshi. Sakshi, there is slight difference in explaining the Sakshi and the Chaitanya. That's why he has pointed out differently.
Yeah, the conscience borrows that awareness from the Chaitanya, the Chit, right? Without that, it doesn't exist. Okay, but it is not the same. Also, Swami says the dreaming state he compares to the conscience.
Correct.
And
There
then
was another quote about that. I didn't put
Right.
that one because that is more confusing. Right?
No, dreaming state. And then the deep sleep, he says it is the consciousness. So conscience and conscious, conscience and conscious, they interact, they are, okay, one doesn't go without the other, but all of them depend on the consciousness. Without that, none of these come into picture. That's what.
So, Sairam, I think the conscience is the mind and the intellect, the mind-intellect complex. Yeah, it's part of that. Mind and intellect is the complex, right? That is your conscience. When you say, oh, my conscience told me, right? You're still in this body, mind, intellect phase. Consciousness is above that, it's beyond that. And, I think it's the bridge between the two. Without the conscious, if you're not awake, alert,
Right.
all the senses are feeding, there is no mind to be fed, and there is no intellect to tell the mind. So that's the same complex actually, and it's not the exact translation, but it's as close as you can get. But consciousness is, like all we know.
See, also Swami says that when we did this meditation, who are you, what are you, that thing, right? And Swami also says, when you ask, who am I, what am I doing? That kind of question, he says, it arises from the conscience. Okay?
Intellect and
Right,
mind
conscience,
complex.
not
The mind and the
conscious, not conscious, but
No.
conscious. That is
conscience.
Yeah, conscience is the
That is
one
the
thing.
mind, right?
That's
So
the
if
intellect.
if you close your eyes and you're sitting in that meditation, what is that voice that is speaking? The
Correct.
awareness doesn't speak. There is nothing to it
No,
attached.
right.
No gunas,
But
no language,
without
no
it,
nothing.
they don't exist.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that is ever present in everyone. It's the same. It's always there, right? But these questions that you're asking, who are you? What are you? That is the mind intellect complex that is doing that for you, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we need to understand. And also this whole thing is like, this is all like bookish knowledge. We got it. We read it. We understood it. Are you experiencing it? That is the experiential thing is a whole different ball game. That's where we fail. That experiencing that oneness with those people on the plane, even though they're not related, that's the clicker, right? Once you get it, you get it. We are still so far away from it. We're all in the bookish knowledge. Yeah, we understand the terms. We understood. Very good. Doesn't mean anything.
In Vedanta, one of the prakriyas or one of the things to explain is avastatraya. There are three states, the deep sleep and the dream and the waking. Now, in all these three, the Atma or consciousness is there. It's present. But what we call is when we get up in the morning, there's something called waking consciousness. So that may, and then the other consciousness is there throughout. It's present in when you wake up, when you're dreaming, and when you're in deep sleep.
Sairam, yeah, I just want to add here, if you look at the definition, conscious is you're actually using the senses to get the information. We are aware of it through the senses. And of course, the senses go into the mind, and then, the mind is needed. And the mind is again through the consciousness, which is reflected into the mind that, interprets everything. But then in the second stage is where he talks about conscience. Even when the senses are not there, we are dreaming, still mind is active.
Right.
So that is the place where conscience is still active. And then the third one is in the deep sleep state when, only consciousness is there. You're not even aware of the other two. I think that is where he relates the three in this particular definition. Sairam.
Yeah.
Sairam. I can think of an analogy. I'm not 100% sure if this one.
Sure.
Let's say there is a sun. Just because there is a sun, it doesn't make any sense unless you have the eye and you're able to, or you have you can feel the heat or the light. So the sun is like the Atma that is always there, consciousness that is always there. So unless you are able to see that, which is through the conscious, we cannot assist. But as Shobhaji said, I think these are just for our intellectual understanding.
Correct.
But I am thinking that we need to focus on how we are going to realize that consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really, because that meditation actually focuses on this, on who are you, what are you, who is asking that question, why are you asking that question, what do you feel in that moment after you've asked that question. I thought that was a great meditation as well. So
if you allow,
yeah,
we still have to go back the previous page. Go back to the terminology. This conscience is the Sakshi. Let's not confuse. Sakshi does not do anything. Sakshi is the witness only, is only the witness. And it's that second bird. It is that second bird on the same tree. It is not the karta, not the bhokta. So there's a difference. The English terminology is not clearly explaining it that well. Witness is that Sakshi who is sitting there watching, and the other bird is doing the job and enjoying the fruit also. Karma and the fall of karma also. The witness is not doing it. Witness is that reflected, that part of the Brahman which is around us, which is my personal, theoretically, which is my kind of personal thing, who is with me all the time. Even though it is a part of the same Chaitanya, it is with me all the time, and that is what Sakshi means, and that's what conscience is. In English terminology, we use this term more frequently. My conscience doesn't allow, but that is not exactly explains the Sakshi part.
Are you saying it is the Chidabhasa? Is it what you are saying? The conscience is a witness.
Exactly.
The borrowed.
Exactly.
Borrowed.
Exactly. We are almost there, because that one has nothing to do with even with my thought process.
Yeah.
That one is nothing to do with my karma.
Right.
That has nothing to do with my what I'm thinking of, my emotions has nothing.
Right.
It's just a witness of my thoughts also. I think you got what I'm. So that's why it's typically called Sakshi, and it's typically given the name of witness.
Chidabhasa.
They did not give that other name.
Right.
So that's my personal Brahman, kind of. I'm personal because I'm dealing with it.
Right. See, the Chaitanya, the easy example is the movie screen. That is just it exists in the background, but everything depends on the screen played out,
Correct. Yeah.
including our conscious conscience, everything. Because based on the movie screen, all the movies are played out.
I'll ask the question then, is there two Brahmans? Yeah,
No.
so,
It's one Brahman.
yes,
Same Brahman is called Chaitanya.
yes.
But we still call that Brahman. See, same
I
thing
know
is called
English
with
doesn't translate it,
Yeah.
so that's why the English word conscience
is not
is,
exactly.
yeah, it is a mind-intellect complex.
there
you
is-
know?
Conscious
You-
is
there is-
mind intellect complex. You're
Yes.
100% right.
Because-
That's why it is not the exact meaning of witness. That's why it's not explaining
Yes.
the Sakshi.
Yeah, I agree.
See, like the sun reflecting on a buckets of water. It is only one sun, but you see the bimba in all that. Like that consciousness is there. But the consciousness is all reflected. It's the Chidabhasa. That is Chidabhasa. Right. But it's confusing. Yeah, all the terms are very confusing, to say the least. Yeah.
So okay, yeah, please go ahead.
Now, I have a question. So I'm trying to understand. So conscience is nothing but Chidabhasa, or the reflection of that Chit on various containers, like the sun getting reflected on different things. But that Chidabhasa is going to be the same for everybody, right? Or will that be different?
Chidabhasa, is it different in everybody?
Will that be different for each person, or it will be the same? I think it will be the same. It should be the same. The only thing is, if there is dirt in one puddle, we are not able to see the clear reflection of the Chit on the Chidabhasa, but the water is the same, or the reflection is the same. It would be the same if there is no clutter.
Right, right.
So okay, coming back to this one, I think the conscience will be the same for everybody, but how much we are able to listen to that conscience will depend on how much of clutter we have.
So if it is a witness, it won't be saying anything.
No.
Witness is correct.
No.
But we, use the mind intellect to listen to the witness, listen to the conscience, because the conscience will keep saying, but it won't enforce anything, but it will keep reminding us, or it will keep telling us.
I think what we are talking about, our conscience, is actually what Swami means being conscious. Conscience is witness. Witness doesn't tell you if it is right, it is wrong, it doesn't matter, right?
I think these are very confusing words. We should not, Manojji and Umaji are saying, these are not the right words to understand it. Honestly, it's not. Because once you use that word conscious, it actually confuses us,
Okay.
But if you use only the way Sanskrit descriptions went, it is easy to understand. That
Consciousness is prajnanam Brahma. Right. What is the Sanskrit word for conscience? Sakshi. Conscious. Sanskrit.
This
So-
Chidabhasa, I think, is
Chidabhasa is that what?
no. The thing is, there is one Atma Brahman.
We get
There's only
that.
one,
We get that.
and that is the one being reflected
That
in
we
the
get.
water.
That
The
is-
water is the mind. The mind is the one, and that is the reflected consciousness, which then is very close to the Atma. That's why there's so much confusion.
Yeah, the
But
reflected.
that is Chidabhasa.
The
the
reflected consciousness
mind.
is Chidabhasa. That is Chidabhasa, right? So, but the conscience cannot exist without consciousness. The consciousness will exist without any of this. That much we can understand, right? So it is, maybe we can take it as the conscience, as a intellect. It is part of intellect to decide what is right, wrong. As a conscious person, we analyze things, what is happening, what is there.
Yeah. See, that is the
that
easiest
is the
way.
mind. Yeah.
Easiest
So we
way
can
to
take it
understand
mind,
is really that
intellect.
way.
So we
Body
can take it-
complex,
yeah.
mind intellect complex.
Right.
Instead of like, because this way of understanding, like Vidyaranya Swamiji wrote all this, right? He was the one who wrote all this. It's very hard, it is very intricate and a lot of things that you have to understand those. And for us, we don't need to. There's really no need to know all that. It doesn't change anything. All we need to understand is what in that accident, like how he opened it like a banana peel. It is so clear to understand this example, where if you don't identify yourself with others, that oneness in others, in that meditation where you say, who are you, what are you, I'm the same. If it's a blob of light you're imagining, I'm nothing, I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, it should be the same. In every one of us is imagining the same thing. What's the difference? You must have imagined the same, she must have, I must have. It's all the sameness, right? Unless you closed yourself off to these other thoughts, you will not identify it. But that is hard to get to.
Yeah. We are very much identified with the body and mind. So that is why we don't see the oneness deep down, what we are all one. All we see different people, different things, So that is where we have to turn towards inside.
Yeah, so I just have Swamiji clarify this. It's just an 8-minute video, so.
Shuman Aik from Malaysia asks, what is the difference between consciousness, awareness, and mindfulness?
Consciousness, awareness, and mindfulness. See, I want to answer the question directly. I'll take consciousness and awareness first. These are words which are ambiguous. That's why in my talks on Vedanta, I use consciousness and awareness interchangeably, because none of them precisely capture what Vedanta means by Chaitanya, Chit, Chiti, Bodhi, Samvit. There are multiple words in Vedanta. It's something that they dealt with, so they came up with, I always think of the Eskimos are supposed to have some 20 words for snow or something like that. They always live in a snowy environment, so they know little variations of that. So in that way, these ancient Indians came up with multiple words for that ultimate reality as pure consciousness. The Buddhists have a very evocative phrase. I don't know the original Tibetan for this, but it is clear light of the void. So reality, according to them, is emptiness, but it's a luminous emptiness. So there is it's not exactly what is meant by consciousness or awareness, but that's the closest that we can get. Suppose it's a bit like sunlight and moonlight. You want to explain what sunlight is, but to persons who are perpetually living at night, once in a while they see the moon, and so the only thing you can say is that, that moonlight, that's what I mean by sunlight. And you are right, but not quite. So you know what it means, how the sunlight is becoming the moonlight. But the person who doesn't know what sunlight is can often be confused about what you mean. All right. So instead of saying consciousness, awareness, let me use precise terms which will be analogous or close to them, and then differentiate. In Sanskrit, the terms are Swarupa Jnana, consciousness itself. Vritti Jnana, consciousness in the mind. So these two terms, let me distinguish. Swarupa Jnana, Vritti Jnana. There are multiple terms for these. So this Vritti Jnana, consciousness in the mind, is what we are used to. Technically, this Vritti Jnana is what awareness or consciousness actually refer to. The English dictionary, if you take words like awareness, consciousness, they all refer to this Vritti Jnana. This is the consciousness we are used to. When we are seeing, when we are hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, remembering, understanding, loving, hating, desiring, all of our conscious life, whatever we call it, is Vritti Jnana, is consciousness in the mind. And this is exactly like moonlight. That moonlight, sunlight example. And what Vedanta is trying to show us, so-called, if you call it pure consciousness or awareness itself or awareness of awareness and so on, is not Vritti Jnana, is that Swarupa Jnana, is consciousness itself, is the sunlight. The sunlight is there, but only at night you can't point to the sun directly. The only thing you can say is that light you see, that's actually what I'm talking about. In reality, it is sunlight. That moonlight you see, in reality, is sunlight. That awareness which we have right now, totally, correctly understood, precisely ascertained, it is pure consciousness. Reflected through the mind. That's vritti jnana. So I've made two distinctions. One of them is very familiar to all of us. That is, right now, we all feel that we are aware. We all feel we are conscious. And if you want to point to this consciousness, you want to point to this awareness, you can. But you'll point to some kind of event, mental, perceptual, cognitive event. That's what's going on now. Thinking, remembering, enjoying, hating, all of it. Waking, dreaming, sleeping, all of it is because of this mind. But what the Vedanta claims is all of this comes from, in all of this is involved and it is illumined by, and it comes from what it calls Swarupa Jnana, Chit, Samvit, Bodhi, multiple words, pure consciousness. So this is the distinction. Vedanta, we are trying to find that out. Right now our problem is we are identified with this Vritti Jnana. We think, I am this guy. I am sitting here, I am talking to you. This is very obvious to me. But it's obvious to me only because I see, hear, smell, taste, touch. I think, I remember, I cogitate, and therefore it's obvious to me. It's all presented. So, a very beautiful way of describing it you get in Vedanta, Buddhism also, Tibetan Buddhism. It's like a dream-like appearance on the primordial ground. That's what they call it. Dream-like appearances on primordial ground. What is the primordial ground? You. What's the dream-like appearance? This. What's going on inside? Our problem is we don't know the primordial ground. We cling to the dream-like appearances because that's all we know. But the dream-like experiences themselves cling to the primordial ground. Once you recognize the primordial ground, and you can recognize the primordial ground because you are the primordial ground. Tattvamasi, you are that. Therefore, it's entirely open to all of us to recognize what we truly are. So anyway, going from our mental consciousness, awareness, whatever you call it, to pure consciousness awareness, going means recognizing it. The ground, that's the primordial ground. I can say sunlight is the primordial ground of moonlight. It will be a weird way of talking, but that's what I mean basically. One more term used was mindfulness. Now, there's a Sanskrit term which it corresponds to samanaska. Literally means attentive, mindful. Samanaska actually means mindful, literally mindful. So it's a term used in the Kathopanishad long before the Buddha. Buddhists, mindfulness, of course, right now the mindfulness we come across in the United States and many parts of the world, it draws upon Buddhist traditions. But in many ways, the Buddhist tradition itself draws upon more ancient Hindu traditions, like the Buddha's own teachers were Sankhya masters, by his own admission. So samanaska, what it does is this vritti jnana, the consciousness in the mind, the moonlight. It's limited, but it reveals the world to us. It gives us a sense of personality, individual identity, like we feel now, and it reveals the world to us. And it has a very limited bandwidth, so it needs to be focused. What needs to be focused? The moonlight. Now I'm stretching the analogy too far. So what needs to be focused is our mind, and the consciousness in and through the mind. So focusing means paying attention. Paying attention. So there is a huge amount of study being done now on focus, attention, mindfulness, positive psychology. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's book Flow is a classic example, but a lot more work is being done. So paying attention, it's the most important resource that we have to attend to something, to pay attention. All knowledge depends upon paying attention. Because the limited bandwidth we have, we need to focus in on whatever. It does all miracles for us. All our enlightenment, spirituality, science, religion is because we pay attention. Then it works. So that paying attention is mindfulness. That focusing of our vritti jnana is mindfulness. So that's the link.
Okay. Again, this was just a summary, and I felt we can use, or at least our takeaway can be to understand that in that sense. We can continue the discussion next Saturday. Let's end with Om and Tri Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sairam, next Saturday we will start with reflection or revision in terms of all the topics that we have done since chapter 1. So we will take up the next 2 sessions with that. So thank you all for joining today. Sairam.